My hair is generally pretty limp and lifeless and can sometimes really be missing some volume. So texturizing really just helps bring it up. Do y'all notice anything different? I got a haircut today, and that is why I'm making this video condensing the things that hairstylists want you to know. The reason why I'm making this video is because I have had so many hair sponsors over the years. I've sat on panels with hairstylists as judges. I work as a TV producer, and many of our clients, it's a lifestyle program, all are salon owners, and I've just picked up a lot of different tips. Someone once told me that your hairstyle is the evening gown you never take off. And if you are competing in pageants, your hair is such a big part of your brand. I'm hoping that this video will help you make the most of your appointment and to be able to communicate with your hairstyle in a way that will make them give you exactly what you want. This video will also give you some tips as to how to make the most out of every dollar you spend. I am personally very thrifty, so my first tip is going to start with where to get your hair cut. If you were on a budget, go on Craigslist and put in hair model. That's because you will see a lot of cosmetology schools actually soliciting and looking for hair models, because students who are going through haircutting programs, whether it's Aveda or Spoken Wheel is one in San Francisco that I've been a hair model for, they need people to practice on. And in the salon industry, all of these students need to get a certain amount of hours to be able to have a license to cut hair. It's highly regulated. It's a very professional industry, I would say. And it should be, because they're working very intimately with people's faces, and you don't want a Vincent van Gogh situation where someone inexperienced cuts off your ear. So luckily, there are these requirements for salon professionals in training. And something that can really help you is go be a hair model. It helps because it is inexpensive. Sometimes all you pay for is the color. I always tip whenever I'm a hair model because it's essentially a free haircut. So that's my first tip, is especially if you're in a big city, opportunities for this are enormous. They are constantly looking for hair models who want different types of cuts. Sometimes hair models are being asked to come in for a bob or a specific layering technique, or even color like balayage. So just look at the details of the posting and respond if it sounds good to you. This is something that I kind of don't want to share too much of, because if too many people ask to be hair models, it's going to be harder for me to be a hair model. But this is a really good tip to get a haircut on a budget. Don't worry if the haircut doesn't turn out to be what you absolutely want it to be. I would actually ask the manager when you're in the chair before you leave the salon, like if something doesn't quite feel right, just ask for the manager or ask for the student's teacher to come over and fix it. Because even if the student is inexperienced, there's always someone who is much more seasoned who will be there to guarantee that you are happy. You just have to make sure you speak up and ask for any changes before you leave the salon. You can't, be a hair model, be grumpy, leave, and then blame yourself, and then blame me for telling you to be a hair model. You have to speak up before you leave the salon, okay? All right, so the second tip is bring pictures. Every hairstylist I've ever known loves when clients bring pictures. That's because if you bring a photo, you're able to convey so much more if you don't have the terminology or the actual vocabulary to talk about what's happening in the photo. Whereas the hairstylist would just be able to see immediately, oh, you want that? Okay, great, I'll get that for you. It would also help to choose a photo of a hairstyle that has a similar texture as your natural hair. That will just make things a lot easier and a lot more realistic for you if you choose a model or a photo of someone whose hair texture is similar to yours. My next tip is when you ask for an inch to be taken off, you have to actually show what the inch is. Sometimes people say, oh, I want 2 inches off. And what they really mean is this. Or sometimes they want half an inch, and what they really mean is a full inch. So just by showing how much you want, that will tell the hairstylist what you mean. Hairstylists generally know what an inch is, but it's often the client that doesn't. So to avoid any miscommunication, like physically take your fingers and say, I want this much off, or I want this much off, or I want this much off. Just show them so that there is no miscommunication as to how much they're going to take off. Once they cut it, that's it. Do yourself a favor and just let your hairstylist wash your hair.
It smells like flowers and fruit. You have strong fingers, Mama. Yeah. I love it.
36 years of
If you don't, then the next best thing is to come in with your hair truly soaking wet. Not like towel dried, it should still be dripping. That's because the hairstylist will be able to manage your hair so much better when your hair is wet. She'll probably take a little spray bottle and continue to wet it. This gives her a lot more control. If you don't want to pay for the hair washing, you're probably on a budget. Another thing that might help you is to ask for a haircut that will grow out nicely, so that instead of getting a haircut once every 3 months, you can get your haircut once every 6 months. Save money, right? Pay for 1 instead of 2 appointments, and just really request that you get a hairstyle that will grow out nicely so that you don't have to come in as often. If you like a messy look for your hairstyle, something that's not so sleek, it looks a little bit more tousled, ask the stylist to texturize it, okay? The word is texturize. I always like texture because my hair is generally pretty limp and lifeless and can sometimes really be missing some volume. So texturizing really just helps bring it up. My next tip is that there is a difference between shorter hair and thinner hair. So if you notice a poofy spot, ask her to do something about the bulk. There may be a way to counteract that bulk by cutting it, but that's not the only way. Like, your hairstylist has a lot of other tools at her disposal. Just, let her know what's bothering you. At the end of the day, all that matters in the chair is communication. Tell her what you like, tell her what you don't like, and it's up to her to adjust the levers to make it perfect for you. Moving on, my next tip is that when you are in the chair, don't be on your phone. And that's because if your head is lowered, your hairstylist is going to be cutting hair without your head in a level and stable place. That can leave your layers looking choppy on one side. So your hairstylist should really be reminding you to keep your head straight. If your hairstylist isn't, I'm reminding you to remind yourself to keep your head straight. That will help make your haircut look a lot more even, and you'll be doing her a favor. Bring your phone up if you want to text, but don't look down, don't slouch, and just keep your head as straight as possible. That will give you the most even cut, 360 degrees all the way around. And if you also part your hair, make sure that it's parted the way you like it when you are in the chair. If your part is usually on this side and suddenly the hairstylist is cutting it on this side, no, just tell her to move it back to where it is, because at the end of the day, it's your head and it's your hair. So you want the baseline of where your part is to be naturally where your hair will be when you're getting the cut. And lastly, the final tip is be prepared to spend some money if you really want a great haircut. That's guaranteed, that's from a person who knows what they're doing. I know this advice and this last tip flies in the face of what I said earlier about being a hair model, but the truth is, when you're a hair model, you are taking on that risk because a student is still cutting your hair. If you really want the top of the line haircut, just be prepared to spend some money, not just for the service, but also because they do use better products. A lot of drugstore brands, you get a lot of volume, a lot of water, and it's just not as concentrated as some salon brands. I've seen hairstylists use just half of what I use as shampoo, and it gives just as good a lather, and it does a really good job. So there really is a difference in salon quality products and professional salon quality service as well. So just remember that you're still getting a service from a person. Be prepared to spend some money and tip well too. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope this video has given you some ideas for how to schedule your next appointment and get the hairstyle that you love. Remember, it's the evening gown you never take off. If this video was helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for future videos. Take a look at my past stuff right here.
Do I want to keep my hair? This is what I had before. That's so funny. I will keep it, I guess. Because you're just going to dump it, right?
Yeah.